Happy Tuesday. I actually brought a fancy cup to the table tonight because I have fancy flowers behind me and I just thought it looked nice. How are you this evening? Whether you're drinking from a fancy teacup with a bouquet of flowers or sitting in your PJs munching on a candy bar, welcome. I'm Sharon Gamble. I'm the founder and director of Sweet Selah Ministries, and every Tuesday night we talk. And I love Tuesday nights. I especially love it when you comment and we chat a little bit about what we're talking about. So, comment, please. Are you eating a candy bar in your pajamas? Or maybe you're munching on a carrot and drinking some kind of healthy shake. Whatever, share with us that you're here. We'd love to hear from you. We've been talking this month about the word abide. And abide is to stay close, to live with, to remain with. And this is what God asks of us, to abide in Him, to be close to Him, to nestle in. And we are looking at John 15, where that word appears again and again in older translations. And so I'm using the English Standard Version because I love the word. And tonight we're going to look at the command to obey, which is tied to abiding. So that's interesting. I'm going to start at John 15, verse 10, and we're going to go verse by verse. So John 15, verse 10 says this: If you keep my commandments, if you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. All right, this is conditional. If you want to abide in his love, you need to keep his commandments. Now, Jesus modeled this for us. He said repeatedly on earth, I'm not doing my own deal here. God's in charge. I take my orders from my Father. Now, Jesus is God, so this gets a little weird, but God manifested on earth in skin, in flesh, demonstrated how he wanted us to live in flesh with skin on. And so Jesus went and prayed. Jesus went and did the things and submitted to his Father's will over and over again. In fact, Jesus loved his Father, and this is why he did it. He knew his Father knew best. We don't know if Jesus' abilities were limited mentally. Did he still know the beginning from the end in a physical human body as an infant, as a 30-year-old? We don't know these details. We do know that he depended on the Father for every direction, including at the beginning when he went off to the wilderness by himself with God for 40 days and nights and soaked in scripture and obeyed God and avoided the temptation. And including at the end of his life when he is sweating blood in the Garden of Gethsemane because the humanness in him does not want the pain that is coming or the separation from his Father, and says, Not my will, but thy will be done. So he set the standard pretty high. When we abide with Christ, we keep his commands. We do what he wants. We're so close that we want to please him. We want to be with him. And he's walking with us as we do what is right and what is good. Now, when we walk away and do our own deal, does he welcome us back? Over and over and over, yes. But the closeness that we want with him comes from obedience. So that's verse 10. Verse 11, continuing, Jesus says, These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. Guess what? Obedience leads to joy. Big surprise. When we don't lie, we don't have to dig ourselves out of lies. When we don't harbor bitterness in our hearts, but forgive, we're not slowly poisoning ourselves on our own ickiness, right? What God tells us to do is not only right and good, it brings joy and not sorrow. So that's verse 11. This is verse 12. This is my commandment. Okay, if you obey me, you'll abide with me. Here's my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Oh my. Jesus loved really, really, really well. He forgave over and over and again. He washed dirty feet. He was even kind to Judas, who he knew was about to betray him. He did not demand pomp and circumstance and that he be treated like royalty. He slept on the ground, for crying out loud, right? He was poor. He loved the people around him well. He welcomed children. He welcomed the outcasts. He loved them. This is how we're to love. He's a great example, but a little bit of a high bar, right? Okay, and then he defines it even further. He says, greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. Okay, so we have to love sacrificially. We have to lay down our own selfishness a lot to serve others. That's obedience. That's not demanding our own way. You know, the Sermon on the Mount is kind of Jesus' manifesto to us, isn't it? And he says, you've heard it said, don't murder. I say, don't murder in your mind. Don't wish somebody dead. That's just as bad. He says, you've heard it said, don't commit adultery. Well, let's go further than that. Don't imagine adultery. And don't say, I swear by heaven's grave, or, well, I guess you wouldn't swear by heaven's grave. I swear by heaven's gate, I think it is, or something like that, to prove that you're really telling the truth. Because if you are a truth teller, yes or no ought to be enough. If you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. So Jesus didn't eliminate those 10 commandments. He added to them. He wants our hearts right, not just our actions right. So we're to lay down our lives over and over again for the good of others. It is hard. Abiding is becoming more difficult because it means the laying aside of my own selfishness over and over again for the joy that comes from being with Him who laid aside His rights and picked up the cross for us. All right, the last verse. You are my friends if you do what I command. What? Friends? With God? I mean, that's stunning. This is what we get when we obey. Joy, closeness with Him, no regrets. That's nice. Forgiveness over and over again when we mess up. We get chances unlimited to come back to Him. And last one was friendship with God. Walking together in tandem, not trying to make up our own rules, but gladly obeying His. Oh, you guys, what a life. And how often I walk away from that good life because I don't want to forgive or I don't want to lay aside my rights. Jesus said, if that Roman soldier says, carry my backpack a mile, do him one better. Say, no, I'll carry it too. This does not sound fun to me. Suffering does not sound fun to me. But walking close with the God who made me, who knows the future and knows what is best for me, who knows what will lead to regrets in my life and what will not, that sounds mighty good to me. So when we read the Bible each morning and we see a command, ask God, let's both, all of us, ask God to submit to that command and obey so that our abiding stays close, so our love for Him is not marred by disobedience, so that our joy is complete. So that's the lesson for this week. Tell me what you think. Commands are hard, but they don't go away. God still wants us to be good and to love like he loves, even though the forgiveness is always offered and we get the fresh starts. So go be good in his strength and by his grace alone this week. God bless.